The Israelites have been in Egypt for some time. They've been fruitful, they've been multiplying. Joseph and his family has since passed on, and a new Pharaoh has risen up that did not know him. Fearing of the growing number of the Israelites, this Pharaoh decides to put them into slavery to try to dwindle their numbers. God hears the cries of the Israelites and chooses a man to lead them out of Egypt. Who is this man, and will he accept what God has laid before him? Let's find out. Hey there, everyone. Welcome to Tyler Talks Bible. We are finally in Exodus. Now, Exodus is a word that we get from Latin, and it's a Greek abbreviation of the word in Greek, which is Exodus. And Exodus just basically means to leave from, to depart, exit, if you will. Where this is going to pick up in Exodus is all the people from Genesis have now passed on and passed away, and that's including the Pharaoh of the time of Joseph. And a new Pharaoh has risen up and decides to put them into slavery. So, with that being said right there, let's go ahead and pick up very first chapter of Exodus. And it begins. These are the names of the sons of Israel who went to Egypt with Jacob, each with his family: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Benjamin, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. The descendants of Jacob numbered 70 in all. Joseph was already in Egypt. Now Joseph and all his brothers and all that generation died, but the Israelites were exceedingly fruitful. They multiplied greatly, increased in numbers, and became so numerous that the land was filled with them. Then a new king, to whom Joseph meant nothing, came to power in Egypt. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become far too numerous for us. Come, we must deal shrewdly with them, or they will become even more numerous. And if war breaks out, we'll join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country. So here we see, saying that this is coming back, talking about Genesis, about how people were supposed to be fruitful, be multiply, going back to Adam and Eve, to fill the earth, be fruitful, multiply, and fill the earth. The Israelites have been doing this. They've been exceedingly fruitful and multiplying. And, some time has passed. It lets you know that the brothers in Joseph, they've all passed on. And so now we just have their, descendants living in Egypt and continuing to grow. And this Pharaoh, this new king, he's not liking it. It's not saying that he didn't, it just says he didn't really know who Joseph was, but he didn't know Joseph personally, basically. But he didn't know of all that he had done for Egypt. And he decides and gets fearful of all the numbers of these Israelites and thinks that if war breaks loose, they're going to join our enemies and overtake us. So he's trying to, set them in, get them in check before that happens. So let's continue on. So they put slave masters over them to oppress them with forced labor. And they built Pithom and Ramses as store cities for Pharaoh. But the more they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. So the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites and worked them ruthlessly. They made their lives bitter with harsh labor in brick and mortar and with all kinds of works in the fields. In all their harsh labor, the Egyptians worked them ruthlessly. The king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah, when you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it is a girl, let her live. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live. Then the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live? The midwives answered Pharaoh, Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before midwives arrive. So God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. And Pharaoh gave this order to all his people: every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. So now we see here that his plan didn't work out. He's like, we're going to put them in slavery. This ought to, dwindle their numbers, work them so hard that they're not going to want to be fruitful and multiply. It's going to break their spirit. But it does not. They continue to grow. And this has been they're going to be enslaved for 400 years. And we know this because of Genesis 15:13. God tells Abraham, your descendants will be in a land that they do not know for 400 years. So this is all being predetermined back in Genesis. And he's trying to do the king, he calls him king, but Pharaoh is trying to throw all the babies in the Nile to try to get rid of them. And the women, the midwives, he wanted them to kill them. They wouldn't do it because they feared God. This means that they've been intermingling with these Israelites and stuff like that. I'm sure that they used the Israelite women as, helpers and things of that nature. So they understand and have seen and heard stories of what Lord God Yahweh does for these people. So they fear him. And because of that fear, God goes ahead and he's like, I'm gonna bless y'all too. Um, so they're wanting to throw them all in the Nile River. And this is where it's going to introduce, drum roll. I'm sure a lot of people know who this person is. It's Moses. Moses is the big center point of the Exodus story. He is the man that God is going to choose to lead these people out of Egypt. But he doesn't go quietly. I'll say that. So let's get right into it. Chapter 2. Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds among the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Right. So technically, she kind of listened. She put him in the Nile like the Pharaoh wanted. But it's talking about here too, where she saw that he was fine. She knew that he was good, like meant for something better. Put him in there to try to protect him and keep him safe. And God is going to be watching over him. And also, it says that he was from Levi. Do we remember back in Genesis about the Levites, or about Levi, the son of Levi? Um, Simeon and Levi both had they had anger issues and things like that, and they took their anger out on the men of Shechem after tricking them into getting circumcised. So this anger is gonna be kind of an issue for Moses throughout the Exodus, and we'll see that. So now Moses is in this basket. He's on the Nile, and he's just floating among the reeds. And then someone comes along and sees him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying, and she felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go, she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. All right. So this is how, the Lord works. Something bad was supposed to happen. All the babies were supposed to be thrown into the Nile. She puts them in a basket in the Nile. Pharaoh's daughter finds him, picks him up. Hey, gets taken back. His sister's like, hey, my mother over here, she can nurse your baby for you. And his sister didn't have any fear of the Egyptians because, she was older and she was a girl. They wanted to keep the girls. They wanted to, kill all the boys because, once the males grew up, they could, reproduce with many different women to keep growing. So that's what the whole fear of, let's kill these males, these boys, and not let the girls live. Um, so they took him back to his mother to be nursed, and his mother got paid to nurse her own child. So that's another thing that God did for her. And now, some time has passed. Moses is now older. He's grown up quite a bit, and something happens. Something pretty serious happens. So let's just jump right into it. One day, after Moses had grown up, he went out to where his own people were and watched them cannot talk. Watched them at their hard labor. He saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew, one of his own people. Looking this way and that, and seeing no one, he killed the Egyptian and hid him in the sand. The next day he went out and saw two Hebrews fighting. He asked the one in the wrong, Why are you hitting your fellow Hebrew? The man said, Who made you ruler and judge over us? Are you thinking of killing me as you killed the Egyptian? And Moses was afraid and thought, What I did must have become known. When Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled from Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, where he sat down by a well. All right. So now some time's passed. Moses is a man now, and it's making mention that he's watching these people, um, and it says his people. Now we know that he's, you know, Hebrew, but it doesn't really say at this point that if he knows that he's a Hebrew. It just says he's among his own people. Now, I mean, it could have been that uh, his Egyptian mother could have told him that he was actually a Hebrew, um, but it doesn't really make any mention of that. But it also says here that says that Moses looks left and right and then kills the man because he also knows he has now. Punishing somebody back then, yes, the death penalty and everything, um, for someone doing something wrong, but he knows what he's doing. He has no authority to give out this kind of punishment. So he kills this person and then he buries him. So he knows that what he's done is wrong. And he's trying to go and confront two Hebrews that are fighting, and they know that he's killed this person. So he's like, oh no, I've been, they know. And then he gets back to Pharaoh and he has to flee. So he flees from Egypt, and then he's going to come up into Midian, and he's going to meet these women at this well. And it begins. Now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came to draw water and fill the troughs to water their father's flock. Some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up and came to their rescue and watered their flock. When the girls returned to Reuel, their father, he asked them, why have you returned so early today? They answered, an Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock. And where is he? Reuel asked his daughter. Why did you leave him? Invite him to have something to eat. Moses agreed to stay with a man who gave his daughter Zipporah to Moses in marriage. Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, saying, I have become a foreigner in a foreign land. During that long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cry for help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. So here we see that he gets to this well after fleeing from Egypt, and he kind of gets up into a small conflict at this well. And, of course, a male presence is, they always thought back then that they were over women. They were better than the women. The women didn't have any say. So these shepherds, I guess, came to this well to draw water for their flock and were trying to bully these, daughters of Reuel. And Moses comes to the rescue, drives off the other shepherds, and waters the daughters' flocks. And Reuel is like, oh, this is great. We should really take care of this man for helping us out. And gives him Zipporah, his daughter, and has him work. He has him work and, gives him his daughter to stay and help out. I mean, Moses doesn't have anywhere else to go. He can't go back to Egypt. And this just kind of reminds me a bit of about Jacob, about going to work for Laban and all that, and having to work in order to get the hand of Rachel and things like that. It just kind of reminds me of that, where he's here with these people, and now he's married into them, and he's working for them. But some time passes, and God is hearing the cries of the Israelites in Egypt, and he feels it's time to send someone there to, set his people free. So God is going to reveal himself to Moses in this chapter. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jethro, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian, and he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him within the bush, Moses, Moses. Moses said, Here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for this place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God, your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. At this, Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. So now God has called upon him. And if you've noticed, he said, Moses, Moses. Typically, when the name is called out multiple times, it's divine. It's divine, intervention coming through to talk to somebody. We've seen this before, back with Isaac and Jacob and all them when they talk to the Lord about the covenant. Um, so he sees this bush, angel of the Lord, the bush is burning, and now he's standing on holy ground, and he's afraid to look upon God because he's afraid that he will die if he does. Um, so it's going to continue on here, and the Lord is going to talk to him about how he needs to go back to Egypt to get the people. So let's pick up right here on verse 7. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers, and I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them up out of the land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are oppressing them. So now, go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, who am I, that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? All right, so God laid it out. I'm picking you to go to Egypt and get my people. And you're going to lead them to the land of milk and honey, which is like the whole area of Canaan that, Jacob and his family, they were in Canaan, in and around the land that was promised to them. But then they all went to Egypt. And God told them, okay, it's fine. You can go to Egypt. And this is all coming back. God sent them there and said, hey, it's okay. You're going to be there, but we're going to bring you back out. But what they didn't realize is they were going to be there for over 400 years, which is what God told Abraham. Another thing, something else too, I want to pick back up on here. It was talking about Moses' father-in-law being Jethro. I don't understand why they chose two different names. They've done that before. They did it with Jacob, going back and forth between Jacob and calling him Israel. But he ends up becoming Jethro, is how they refer to him later on in the story. He's going to come back. But now Moses is questioning God, like, why me? Who am I? I'm nobody. Why pick me for this job? And God's going to say, don't worry about that. Pick up on verse 12. And God said, I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on the mountain. Moses said to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and they say to them, the God of your father has sent me to you. And they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation. So Moses is like, well, what if I go and tell them that you sent me? Like, who am I to say who sent me? And you wouldn't want to think like the Israelites have been there in Egypt and they've been, worshiping God and everything for centuries now, that they wouldn't know his name. But I think it's actually just Moses kind of picking around like, is this who you really are? I mean, who am I supposed to tell them that's sending me? And he gives them a name and says, this is what you're going to tell them. And this will be the name that I go by. Because he probably had multiple names that they called upon him. And he's telling them, this is what y'all will call me from now on. And then now he's going to tell Moses who to talk to when he gets to Egypt. Verse 16, go, assemble the elders of Israel and say to them, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said, I have watched over you and have seen what has been done to you in Egypt. Now I promise to bring you out of your misery in Egypt into the land of Canaan, into the land of Canaanites, Hittites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. The elders of Israel will listen to you. Then you and the elders are to go to the king of Egypt and say to him, the Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Let us take 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifice to the Lord, our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand compels him. So I will stretch out my hand and strike the Egyptian with all the wonders that I will perform among them. After that, he will let you go, and I will make the Egyptians favorable and disposed toward the people, so that when you leave, you will not go empty-handed. Every woman is to ask her neighbor and any woman living in her house for articles of silver and gold and for clothing, which you will put on your sons and daughters, and so you will plunder the Egyptians. So now here we have him saying, go to the elders. The elders will listen to you. You tell them my name. You say my name to these elders. They're going to know that it came from me. And it goes on to say, ask the Pharaoh for 3 days to go and sacrifice. But God already knows. He knows what's going to happen. He knows that this Pharaoh's not going to let him go. And he's already foreshadowing what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to show him all his wonders, which is basically saying, I'm going to have to reach out my hand and show him the power that I have in order for him to let you and my people go. And it's also saying that when y'all do get to leave, you're supposed to plunder some of these Egyptians. You're going to take supplies and everything you need for when you leave. Let me see. How long is this chapter? All right. I feel like I can knock this chapter out real quick. Signs for Moses. Moses answered, what if they do not believe me or listen to me and say, the Lord did not appear to you? And the Lord said to him, what is that in your hand? A staff, he replied. And the Lord said, throw it on the ground. Moses threw it on the ground and became a snake, and he ran from it. And the Lord said to him, reach out your hand and take it by the tail. So Moses reached out and took hold of the snake, and it turned back into a staff in his hand. This said, the Lord is so that they may believe that the Lord, the God of their father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob, has appeared to you. Then the Lord said, put your hand inside your cloak. So Moses put his hand into his cloak, and where he took it out, the skin was leprous, and it became as white as snow. Now put it back into your cloak, he said. So Moses put his hand back into his cloak, and when he took it out, it was restored like the rest of his flesh. Then the Lord said, if they do not believe you or pay attention to the first sign, they may believe the second. But if they do not believe these two signs or listen to you, take some water from the Nile and pour it on the dry ground. The water you take from the river will become blood on the ground. So now Moses is questioning him, like, okay, they may believe me, the Israelites might believe me, but the Pharaoh won't do it. What am I supposed to do? It's like, what if they just don't listen? So he tells them, put your staff down. It turns into a snake. Now, here's the thing. Snake, the serpent, which is back in Genesis 2, these Israelites have been passing this down, passing this down, passing this down. So they're going to know this. And the serpent, the snake, was very, the Egyptians, they worship the snake. It's all over the place in their, clothing and articles of, headdresses, things of that. So with the fact that he can throw out this snake and then pick it back up, it's showing that he has control over that. That's what that sign is for. And, the whole, pull your hand in and out of your cloak to show that you have power to heal and things like that. And then it comes to blood. Blood is the life source. So I'm sorry, but if I'm out walking around and some guy comes up and throws something down and the whole like water that's in front of me turns into blood, I'm gonna freak out. Um, so he's saying he's giving him these three signs, but Moses is still not convinced. So let's go continue on here. Moses said to the Lord, pardon your servant, Lord. I have never been eloquent, neither in the past nor since you have spoken to your servant. I am slow of speech and tongue. The Lord said to him, who gave human beings their mouths? Who makes them deaf or mute? Who gives them sight or makes them blind? Is it not I, the Lord? Now go. I will help you speak, and I will teach you what to say. But Moses said, pardon your servant, Lord. Please send someone else. And the Lord's anger burned against Moses. And he said, what about your brother Aaron, the Levite? I know he can speak well. He is already on his way to meet you, and he will be glad to see you. You shall speak to him and put words in his mouth. I will help both of you speak, and will teach you what to do. He will speak to the people for you, and it will be as if he were your mouth, and as if you were God to him. But take this staff in your hand so you can form the signs with it. So now Moses is saying, hey, I can't really talk right. I don't have, like, he's saying he's slow to speech. It's saying, like, he has, like, a stutter. And I can understand that because I get tongue-tied trying to talk all the time. And it shows my videos sometimes. Um, so the Lord is like, who gave people the ability to speak? Was it not me that gave you the ability to talk, to hear, to see? And then he gets upset with him. He says his anger burns. He just gets a little mad. He says, I've already taken precautions for that. Your brother's there. He knows how to talk. You just tell him what to say. He'll say it, and he'll say it, he'll speak well on your behalf. And I'll be there with you to do, or to show you what to do. So now Moses is going to return to Egypt. Then Moses went back to Jethro, his father-in-law, and said to him, let me return to my own people in Egypt to see if any of them are still alive. Jethro said, go, and I wish well. Now the Lord said to Moses and Midian, go back to Egypt, for all those who wanted to kill you are dead. So Moses took his wife and sons, put them on a donkey, and started back to Egypt, and he took the staff of God in his hand. The Lord said to Moses, when you return to Egypt, see that you perform before the Pharaoh all the wonders I have given you the power to do. But I will harden his heart, so that he will not let your people go. Then say to Pharaoh, this is what the Lord says, Israel is my firstborn son, and I told you, let my son go, so he may worship me. But you refused to let him go, so I will kill your firstborn son. At a lodging place, on the way, the Lord met Moses and was about to kill him. But Zipporah took a flint knife, cut off her son's foreskin, and touched Moses' feet with it. Surely you are a bridegroom of blood to me, she said. So the Lord let him alone. At that time, she said, bridegroom of blood, referring to circumcision. All right, so now he's left Midian, and he's out on the road towards Egypt. And he's telling them, hey, make sure you do all this stuff in front of the Pharaoh, even though it's not going to really matter. He's foreshadowing what's going to happen. Uh, he knows that even though this Pharaoh is a different Pharaoh than the one from before that killed all the firstborns, he's still going to do the same to them that the previous Pharaoh, did to his people before him. And then Moses, if you know what the deal is with the covenant with God, is males have to be circumcised. So his son wasn't circumcised. And because of that, God was coming for him. But Zipporah knows, oh, wait, you're Hebrew. You need this. My son is part of you, is in your line of descendants. I must circumcise him. And does that. So here we go again. If you think about it, that's something, too, that holds a lot of truth about these ancient texts that make up our Bible. Back during those times, women were seen as second-class citizens. Whatever a woman did not matter. Men were always number one. The opinions of women didn't matter whatsoever. But here in the story of Moses, you see right at the gate, his mother is watching over him. The Lord uses his mother to take care of him and then sends him away. And then uses women again. These midwives are saying, no, we will not kill these babies. He's given these women the power and blesses them because of this. And then it's women that go against this higher power to allow Moses to grow up to be to the point he's at. And here his wife is again saving him. Another woman is saving him to keep him alive. So let's continue on. We'll finish up these last couple verses. The Lord said to Aaron, go into the wilderness to meet Moses. So he met Moses at the mountain of God and kissed him. And Moses told Aaron everything the Lord had sent him to say, and also about all the signs he had commanded him to perform. Moses and Aaron brought together all the elders of the Israelites, and Aaron told them everything the Lord had said to Moses. And he also performed the signs before the people, and they believed. And when they heard that the Lord was concerned about them and had seen their misery, they bowed down and worshipped. All right. That's the first 4 chapters of Exodus. And now Moses is back in Egypt. And from there, things are going to get wild. He's performed the miracles in front of the Israelites. They believe him. But now he has to go before the Pharaoh to do the same thing. And that's where we'll pick up next time. I want to thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. And as always, God bless.